Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for episode 27 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you for the last time from Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to be a Manhattan boy as of next week. With me, as always, from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, you might know him as Herman, the six-dimensional planet smasher, but to us, it's Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going, bud?
I like the other name better, but, you know. That's cool. I guess.
The other one wasn't so much a name as you were getting a tall latte. Or are you talking about Herman, the six-dimensional
I'm talking about Herman.
Okay.
I'm talking about Herman. Oh, granted. I mean, I guess it could be named a tall latte. It just wouldn't make as much sense.
The tall latte himself, Corey Butterworth. I think Herman suits you better. A
little bit.
So yeah, how's it going? You had a long day today, unexpectedly.
Yep. I had a Boston day instead of tomorrow being a Boston day, which means I'm going to get way drunker over the course of this episode than usual.
Hey.
Most of my stories start that way. No, actually, I'm actually in a pretty good mood. I found out today that Deaf Heaven's coming back to Boston next month. And
they are indeed.
Yep, that's a band I'll see pretty much anytime I can. So that's cool. That's good news. What about you, besides the whole moving thing?
There's not a lot besides the whole moving thing. My apartment is a little bit sparse right now. I have a bed, I have a TV, and I have the desk at which I am sitting. The other earthly possessions of mine are packed up in boxes because I am moving on Saturday, which is a process that I am very eager to be done with. Looking forward to the new place, looking forward to getting my life out of boxes. So...
well, I kind of like my sole purpose in life is to get into boxes. Different kinds of boxes.
You should think
all
outside
shapes and
the
size
box.
boxes.
You should think outside the box. Clearly, you're doing it wrong. Anyway, now that we've wasted 2.5 minutes talking about absolutely nothing, we have some special guests on this week's episode of Horns Up. One of them you will know, our longtime co-host emeritus, Kevin Davis.
Hey.
Kevin is here. And with us for the first time, our good friend, Lauren Wolfson. And we will explain her purpose later on. But for now, Lauren, say hey. Tell us about yourself.
What is she on this planet for?
I see your value
she doesn't
now.
even know yet.
It's like Abed. I see your value
Dan
now.
knows the purpose of all.
Hi.
Hey, Lauren. How's it going?
Good.
Good to have you.
Before you were just baggage. Now you have a
Well, we don't know that yet.
I was just floating around here.
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, we have brought Kevin and Lauren on board because we are all huge fans of Mr. Devin Townsend. As you may have seen on the Horns Up blog, we've kind of had a Townsend week thus far. I wrote about 700 words about an old album of his for today's retrospective. We included his newest album, Z2, in our Just the Tip and are going to be talking about it on this episode. And we have brought Kevin and Lauren on to join us because they, like Corey and I, are big Townsend fans, but Lauren also happened to perform on the album. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting conversation. Want to kick off, though, with some sad news. Unfortunately, we only have one headline this week because we are going to be spending quite a bit of time talking about Mr. Townsend. One headline we do want to mention this week, some unfortunate news out of Austin. Corey Mitchell, who is the creator and founder of the Housecore Horror Festival, as well as a popular writer on Metal Sucks, passed away suddenly on Monday of a heart attack. Apparently suffered the heart attack outside the Austin venue Emos, which had been the festival's main venue just the weekend prior. Housecore was going on last weekend. A lot of people went down and really enjoyed themselves, and the timing of it is just very, very strange. Now, Mitchell was also a writer for Metal Sucks, as I mentioned. He contributed to their 30th anniversary retrospective for Metallica's Ride the Lightning, which, if I'm being honest, was the only piece of his I can ever recall reading, but it was a fantastic tribute. And he had been working with Phil Anselmo, one of his Housecore co-founders, on his autobiography, on Phil's autobiography, I should say. None of us, as far as I know, ever met Corey, but just you can tell from the outcry we've seen on blogs, on Twitter, you name it, over the past couple of days, that he was very well loved within the metal community. And just beyond that, I mean, guys, you can agree, it's obviously never good to see someone go so early. I mean, it's just really, really sad news.
Yeah.
So at any rate, obviously never good to see someone go so early. He leaves a family behind, and want to say rest in peace to Corey. Best wishes to his family and to all those who knew and loved him, and anyone having a tough time as a result of this. Very, very sad news. So that being our headline of the week, let's move into our new releases. As you recall, this is condensed horns up. We're doing headlines, new releases, boom. First up on our new releases list, as you recall, we're only doing 2 this week, but we're going to talk the shit out of them.
It's almost 3, Dan. It's almost 3.
It's kind of 3.
And it's pretty much the shit in the good way. So
yeah. So let's talk about the reason y'all are here, Lauren's purpose. Let's talk about Devin Townsend's new album Z2. Came out this week, and it is, as has been documented on our blog, on the podcast, on many other metal blogs, it is a double album. The first half of which is more Devin Townsend project material. It's an album called Sky Blue. The second portion is called Dark Matters, and it is a continuation of the Ziltoid the Omniscient saga, which Devin started back in 2007. This thing is big. It's massive. It's more grandiose than anything we've seen from Devin thus far.
Devin, yes.
So.
yeah, it's definitely his most ambitious, and you can tell. Like, I don't know if you checked that interview out that I sent you guys before.
I saw some of it.
But, basically the whole thing, he's just like, this took a toll on me. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I've read that he said after his Royal Albert Hall show coming up in April, he's basically just going to take a year off and recharge and not do anything musical for a while.
That's completely understandable. The last time he did that, we actually were graced with the first Ziltoid. So I hope
this is true.
We can be blessed with something even better.
Right.
Now, before we get into the our actual thoughts on the album, I want to talk to Lauren, because Lauren has a credit on the album. She sang in Devin Townsend's Universal Choir, which was crowdsourced over the internet. I will let Lauren talk about the process, but basically, Devin, as far as we can tell, Devin sent out a call for people to perform vocal parts and included them all in a couple of songs. And so, Lauren, tell us the in-depth story.
Before we go, do I need to be recording on GarageBand, or are you picking up all the recording?
I'm recording. Don't worry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't want to screw this up.
No. Yeah, no problem.
Let's not address this immediately, but let's address it 15 minutes in the episode.
10 minutes in, let's pick up on that. This is something I will leave in because this is funny.
We only
Yes,
spoke
it
for
is.
a minute.
This is why you're only a sometimes co-host, Kevin.
I'm only a sometimes co-host. I went to get cigarettes 8 years ago and yet to come back.
Jesus.
Oh boy. So anyway,
sad parenting.
Lauren,
Yeah.
tell us about the Universal Choir. How did this come about? How did your performance on the album come about?
It was pretty easy, actually. He made a website with the tracks on it. There were a few different options that you could use to record yourself. He had like a click track. He had one where you could follow his vocals. One that was just instrumental. And I used GarageBand and a mic, and I just followed his directions and recorded myself singing. He had the lyrics there for you. It was really easy. He led you through the entire process.
That's awesome.
Obviously, you had to have some sort of talent. You couldn't sound awful because it would make the rest of us sound awful.
Right.
But
I kind of like the idea of Devin just including someone totally tone deaf and singing off key.
There's 1,500 people who sound great, and the one guy who's like, "We are young."
But yeah, I think we sounded great. There's a whole other legal paperwork aspect you have to go through as well. Once you turn in your tracks, you have to sign a contract and all this lawyer stuff because it's a big deal, and you couldn't be on the album unless you went through the paperwork and the contract legal stuff.
Makes sense.
Fair.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Now, after all that, was it automatic? Was there like a confirmation from Devin, or how did you know for sure that you were going to be on it?
Yeah, I got an email that basically just said, "You sounded great. Thanks so much for the help." It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I bet.
Yeah, but
You're like rattling off the list of like Devin connections. We've got photos. You've got an email from him. I don't know about you. I got the signed Casualties of Cool CD. That's about the only thing. Well, no, I have a photo too.
I had him yell at me at a concert.
yeah, me too. He yelled at me too because I was laughing too much.
Damn it! You guys,
I
He just pointed at me. He's like, "Hey, you in the ghost shirt with the beard," and then said hi.
No, Dan, you were there. Remember when we saw his acoustic set and he was being all funny and I was laughing too much and he told me to be quiet.
I don't remember that part.
I do. I was
I don't
really
have-
embarrassed.
I have no novelties. I don't have him berating me at any point, but I was in his giant group hug at Vakken, and that was kind of nice.
There you go. There you go. So now which I am trying to figure out which songs was on. To my ears, it sounded like it was on the Sky Blue side. It sounded like Universal Flame, and then it sounded like Dimension Z on Dark Matters. But I was leafing through the liner notes, and I didn't see anything on that.
It didn't really mention anything.
On Sky Blue, the Universal Choir is on
Before We Die.
Yeah, Before We Die.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And then on Dark Matters, it is the opening and closing song. So Z2 and Dimension Z.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Gotcha.
And I believe you just did the Z2 and Dimension Z.
Yeah, I didn't do the Before We Die one for Sky Blue.
Gotcha. And did you screenshot your name when it came up in the credits on his website?
I didn't. No.
I
Do it.
Jesus
Make that-
Christ, Lauren.
Make that a Facebook cover photo now. Make it your Facebook cover photo yesterday. Come on, do it.
Know.
I mean, it's still on the website. Like, the website for the Universal Choir says, "Here's everyone who's on it."
Yeah.
There you go.
I suppose that's fair.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations again. I mean, it sounded great. I obviously got the wrong song on one, so but I do like Before We Die. So yeah, it sounded great. Why not? And yeah, I mean, that's awesome. You're credited vocalist. Cool shit.
Thank you.
We're getting all kinds of famous people on our podcast, Corey.
Well,
Uncredited vocalist, someone who's been yelled at by Devin Townsend.
so we have us who are not famous except for this, Kevin who's famous for things that people don't approve of, and Lauren. She's the only one that counts.
I'm going to send out multiple tweets throughout the day when we post this podcast. One of them is going to be advertising vocalist on Universal Choir. Check out the podcast. Another one's going to be guy who got yelled at by Devin Townsend on our podcast. Check it out. Anyway, now let's get into the album itself. Let's talk because there is a lot to talk about. Let's go in chronologically. Let's talk about Sky Blue first. Again, though, this is the Devin Townsend project stuff. This is not related to the Ziltoid story. I don't know about you guys, but after 3 or 4 listens that I've given it in the last 36 hours, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite of all the DTP stuff he's done.
I'm gonna cut Kevin off. And for the most part, I will say I agree, and that's let's give it a little bit of time because I also said about Addicted, and I also said that about Decon briefly, and I also said about Epic Loud. But just going through this enough times, I like, for the most part, everything on it. Pretty much everything. So I think it's pretty safe to say that, it'll probably end up being the album I go back to most out of DTP.
See, I'm going to be the other extreme. As much as, like, both albums, I'm going as a package, is going to get, like, a 5-star rating from me because it, like, hit every expectation I had. But as far as, like, Sky Blue goes, like, I heard a leak of it last week, and especially some of the songs sounded so much more kick-ass on the leak than they did in the final version. And some of them are great, and then some of them are just, I guess, a little too white for me. Like Lauren pointed out in a great way, where like some of the songs are like, "Hey, we're white. We don't have any connection to any, like it's not accessible in the non-context." Like in one song, he takes, I think it's the Sky Blue song, he takes one of Usher's choruses, and it's very strange.
Well, he's done that before. You know, Save Our Now was a dance track that he basically repurposed for the Epic Cloud album.
And I'm not saying that's like an issue, but then some of the things are just, I guess, a little too dancey, especially in that one interview I sent you. He was talking about how Sky Blue, for the most part, up until the very end, was phoned in. Like, really? Sky Blue is actually like a compromise with the record label. Like, all right, you want to do Ziltoid? That's fine. You have to release another album here. That's this. And he was very close to phoning in. Then at the end, he kind of went back and like did some more stuff. And he actually, you know, and then he's proud of it. And it's still a great album. Yeah. But just how close it was teetering to phoning it in. Sometimes I feel like I can feel it in some songs. And then sometimes, like for Fallout, it just kicks your teeth in.
Yeah.
I was going to say Fallout was amazing. I mean, the first two songs.
Have you heard the version with him singing the verses?
No, I haven't yet.
No.
Dude, that is so, like, it kicks Annika in the dick.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like,
not that Annika is bad.
No,
she
Annika's
amazing.
Or not that Annika has a dick to kick, but
no, not that she has those. But
I mean, I assume. I don't know. I've never.
Not that she has those, because not only does she have a dick, she has multiple dicks. Thanks for that, Kevin.
Well, those or a bad voice in that. But like
that makes more sense.
One line of a verse, he hits so many different vocal dynamics, and it's phenomenal. Like it's goosebump inducing.
Interesting.
But he like said he's sick of hearing himself sing, so he put Annika in the verse.
Well, that's one thing I was going to say. I noticed that it seems like Annika plays a much larger role than she's done on the other DTP albums she was on.
I agree.
It feels like she's contributing to nearly every track as opposed to like just a handful. Yeah. Which I liked because I love Annika and she's awesome with Devin. I mean, they go together like lamb and tuna fish, you know. So
what?
Haven't you ever seen Big Daddy? Come on.
I guess. I guess we're gonna
reference that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's still a great album. Like Fallout's fantastic.
I love that song.
Yeah.
See, Rain City didn't do as much to me. It felt like that one felt like it was a little bit meandering.
I think you have to be in the right mood. Like if you're kind of just like relaxing at home and you have it on, it really gets to you. But if you're busy and you're trying to like go do stuff, it's not the right song.
That's what I was gonna say about this whole album is like there's different songs for certain, like you said, moods. I mean,
right.
Those first two songs, especially Fallout, like you said, it's crazy. It gets you amped up. I mean, it's like a dose of caffeine, and then things kind of stop for a couple tracks. Yeah. And then it just changes it on you.
Then they pick up to like an upbeat mood. Then Rain City becomes very somber. It's like it's a whirlwind. And then Before We Die is this like happy song.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I really love that middle section though. I mean, from Universal Flame to Warrior to the title track, even Silent Militia, because Silent Militia, Annika's vocals in the chorus, it kind of reminded me of You Spin Me Round Like a Record, which was unexpected and amazing. And I was just like, what am I listening to? I love it.
Where did this come from? Yeah, exactly. I'll take it.
He was right. It's more melancholic in a lot of parts, which I think is really kind of refreshing to hear on a GTP thing, because it kind of had hints of like Ghost to me, in the sense of there's this beauty to it, but it also has hints of somberness.
I was gonna say this album kind of, for me, there were certain songs where I thought would have been nestled in nicely with Epic Loud and Addicted between those two, and then there were some that I thought were like right there between Epic Loud and Ghost. which, a little bit of everything, which is awesome.
That was one thing I noticed. It feels like there were musical elements that pulled from all over the place. Like there were moodier parts, quieter parts that pulled from Ghost, but then like the intro to Midnight Sun, for example, it sounded like something that he would have done on like Synkestra or something. Sure. Midnight Sun as a whole felt like a continuation of Where We Belong from Epicloud.
Yep, absolutely.
So it was just a really like diverse, like varied listen. I like that he, how much he mixed it up. So
right.
And it's interesting based on like that interview, but none of you listened to.
I watched them.
Well, Lauren did.
Hey, more purpose.
Yes. He was talking about like at this point musically, the direction he really wants to be in is that Casualties direction. That's what he's attracted to, things like Key and Ghost. And for this album, like really did push him because it's not where he is really musically. So for him to incorporate that stuff really does help add that album to something where he even sounds like at some points he just wasn't feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I remember he was saying that he's been going and going for so long, making so many new songs, so much new music, that he's starting to find himself writing about the process of making a record instead of things about his life.
Yeah.
Right.
So he really
Time to take it back a notch.
And just because you guys were saying it might be your favorite DTP one, it probably, at least for me, will rank in the middle, maybe a little higher middle, but it's still a good album.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For me, what clinched it was, I really love, the end of Before We Die and Into the Ones Who Love. I mean, that sequence, that like a couple of minutes there at the end of Before We Die and into the final song, it kind of felt like what I would expect death and like an ascent into heaven would feel like. It was just very calm, very understated, very zen. And I was just like, this feels like the break that he has said he needs after spending as much time as he spent on this album, on Casualties, on everything over the last, in the last, since 2011, he's put out 5 albums.
Yeah, something like that. You go further back, like he's been like writing that whole 4-album process since like 2008.
Not only that, but there's like the Retinal Circus.
Yeah, Retinal Circus, the By a Thread series.
Yeah. So,
Albert Hall show. He did the Casualty show as well. Yeah. All those big one-time shows, he puts months of effort into.
Right. So yeah, I personally, I love Sky Blue. I tend to, in terms of DTP, I've told you guys this before. I tend to lean toward the pop-oriented stuff, the Addicted, the Epicloud. That's what actually really opened me up to Devin in the first place. I never really listened to him before Addicted came out.
Yeah.
And so I've gravitated toward that style. And I think of that style, of the 3 albums in that style, this one has been for me the most complete. The most fully evolved, at least to me.
It's interesting that you say that because I remember listening to Epicloud and thinking he set out to do what he wanted to do and he did exactly that. And then with this one, I felt like he set out to what he wanted to do and he did more than that. Yeah. So like as an artist, like a lot of times most artists like have a vision and either reach that vision or where it changes. And Devin's now at that point where not only can he hit that vision, but he can exceed that vision.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty incredible. So let's switch gears. Let's move into Dark Matters now. Obviously, the continuation of the Ziltoid saga. I don't know about you guys. To me, this thing felt so much more theatrical, so much more epic than Ziltoid 1 right off the bat.
It gets all my stars.
All of them. Every single one.
It gets every star I have. I have maybe 7.
Okay. Are you trying to build an infinity gauntlet? Is that what I'm sensing here?
I mean, I was, but now I gave him to Devin.
Yeah. So now Devin can rule the universe.
Yes, as well.
Finally.
Yeah, about fucking time.
So the story at hand here, I will warn listeners, spoilers are coming, but really maybe not all that spoilery because I'm not sure I really understood.
Not spoilers about an album that came out 3 days ago from the time this airs. Not that. We'll be fine, Dan. Talk away.
So the story, as I interpreted it, possibly incorrectly, Ziltoid stole a poozer from the War Princess, and we have no idea what a poozer sound like or is. That we only know that they sound like chipmunks, kind of.
They sound like farts because every time he like picks it up, it just goes.
They sound like.
Have you seen what it looks like?
Yeah,
it looks like a fart.
Yeah, it does look like a fart.
So Ziltoid steals a poozer from the War Princess, and she plots revenge, pursues Ziltoid back to Earth to track him down, uses the death ray to turn humans into poozers, and the humans that survive blame Ziltoid. Now, Captain Spectacular, voiced by WWE superstar Chris Jericho, for some reason, pardons Ziltoid when people turn against him, and he sees if Ziltoid can help them fight the War Princess. Ziltoid agrees, but secretly plots to use the Planet Smasher against both the humans and the War Princess. Now, he goes to seek out the Planet Smasher, who it turns out is kind of cute and apparently appealing to humans. When he gets home, when Ziltoid gets home, he betrays the humans, only to find out that Captain Spectacular is his half-brother. Yep. For some reason. I'm sure there's a reason to include that in the story. And Captain Spectacular presents him with the ultimate cup of coffee, only for the Planet Smasher to be brought out and fail because it didn't have its own reason to destroy a planet. Captain Spectacular is then killed by the War Princess. Ziltoid despairs. War Princess tries to attack Ziltoid, and then they're both swept away by the Planet Smasher, who found his motivation to destroy a planet, which was his hatred of musicals.
This album...
Ziltoid and the War Princess are then sucked through a wormhole, but survive, falling onto another planet along with the universe's best cup of coffee.
It's very interesting that the planet he describes is kind of the planet that he describes in Casualties of Cool.
Yeah.
So it's that weird throwback, like the planet of dust and bones.
Crossover episode.
It's so odd because like this one's so happy and tongue-in-cheek, where the first Ziltoid actually had a lot of depth to it and story. This one's just like, nope, let's get weird.
This one seems like...
Let's get weird.
This one seems like... I guess to an extent they both are this way, but this one really seems like it could only have come from the mind of Devin Townsend, story-wise.
Yeah.
The way I was thinking about it was the first one was in the imagination of the guy in the coffee shop, and the second one was if that burnout coffee guy made a play.
Right. The thing I noticed is, and I touched on this briefly before, I think with there's so many more theatrical elements to Z2. I think with Ziltoid 1, if you took out the lyrics and the dialogue, musically, like I don't want to say it would be ill-befitting of a concept album, but musically it wouldn't have seemed any more grandiose or any really like out of the loop as compared to Devin's normal stuff. This one stylistically is different. It feels bigger. It feels more majestic. Yeah. They feel like real compositions, and not to say that the other ones weren't compositions, but they feel just more
they
complex.
Serve the piece more.
Yeah. Exactly.
They serve the whole album versus the first one, which each song kind of stood on its own as like a separate thing, which you could listen to and not be like, oh, this is part of the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any favorite tracks from the album thus far? Or?
I mean, Death Ray's a good time. March of the Poozers is great.
March of the Poozers is fantastic.
Right.
I wasn't nuts about Death Ray at first, but I think it plays better in the context of the album, and it's grown on me a lot too. So,
right.
In Sleep Awake is fantastic.
Yeah, Sleep Awake is good.
Yeah,
favorite track?
I don't think I can choose. I love them all so much.
I really liked Earth a lot. Earth kind of reminds me of like what I wanted out of. Now this is maybe blasphemous, but Earth kind of reminds me of what I wanted out of the Mighty Masturbator from Deconstruction.
Yeah.
I like the Mighty Masturbator, but it's almost 17 minutes long and it loses me after a while. This, like Earth, kind of reminds me of that, but more condensed and more streamlined. And I loved it as a result. It's exactly what I wanted out of the Mighty Masturbator.
I could totally see that. And the vocal performances on this album, like the Warrior Princess, I forget her name, the singer from Stolen Babies.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
And I say that in like admiration.
Yeah.
I wish I could sound like that chick from Stolen Babies.
She actually sounds at times like a stolen baby.
Yeah. That's sad.
Like, it was interesting. It sounded like Annika was only on like the first song or two, and then the War Princess took over. And hearing her and Devin together was so refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They really sounded great. It just I really liked. I got to go back to the instrumentals. I really loved the instrumentals here, particularly on the otherwise dialogue heavy songs. When you listen to them, like to the, I don't know, Kevin, I don't know if you got the deluxe version. Corey, I know you did.
Yeah.
If you listen to the instrumental versions of those songs, they really shine. Just his talent and proficiency as a songwriter and as a musician, just really,
right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, they've been unbelievable. We've known this for years, but they really shine through here. So, So, final thoughts. I ended up giving on my weird pitchforkian scoring scale. I ended up giving Sky Blue a 4.02 out of 5, and Dark Matters an even 4 out of 5. For an average of 4.01. For metal, this is in my top 10 of the year at this point. How about you guys?
Since Kevin participates less frequently than me, I'll go next.
I figured that was the hierarchy. Duh.
Relevance.
We do play favorites here. And if you're only sometimes here, you're not a favorite.
Yeah.
God,
Kidding.
like
We love you.
right.
We love you. Just
I should probably end myself now.
no longer have any purpose.
Lauren still does.
Kevin never had
Lauren
purpose.
has
That was
an
all
album.
on Lauren.
I occasionally have purpose.
Yes.
Anyway, Corey.
Well, here's what's tricky for me. I love both albums. I did. They'll probably both somehow end up in the top 10 this year for me, and that's just very, very, very tricky to navigate because there's been a lot of good shit to come out.
It really has.
There really has. I can list like 7 albums off the top of my head that I know are going to be in there, and
when we say top 10, there are really going to be like 15, 20 albums in our top 10. It's whatever.
Yeah. No, these are very, very good, and I haven't listened to the raw version of Dark Matters yet. And I don't want to just yet. I kind of want to keep listening to the story more frequently because it's awesome. But I'm curious to see how that sounds. But either way, I mean, these are obviously, right there, the top albums I've listened to all year. I mean, we'll see how they stack up against everything else we've raved about to this point. But I don't see why they wouldn't be in the top 10 for me.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah. And you guys, our guests.
I'd probably give Sky Blue probably in the lower end. 3.5. I still liked it a lot, but he had probably 3.5 out of 5. Ziltoid Z2 Dark Matters, I'd probably give close to a 5, like a 4.8, just because of the way he took it. He made it so different. I was a little confused why he had Chris Jericho's Captain Spectacular. I thought he was going to do was speak and not sing, considering he can sing.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can sing actually quite well.
Yeah. He is in Fozzy after all.
Theme.
True. Maybe it didn't fit the theme.
I mean, I know if Devin had Annika sing something like War Princess, it wouldn't have come out as amazing because her voice is so sweet.
Yeah.
And it just wouldn't have fit the song.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then why would you get him to speak? It doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. He's there. It's cool. I give like a 4.8. So I give the whole thing probably like a 4.1, 4.2. It's what I expected. And I'm not disappointed.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's Dan, I gotta ask one thing. Just because I've been shopping today, did you happen to pick up a Ziltoid puppet? Did I see that happen at some point in the recent history?
You did. It's at home in Pennsylvania because I didn't want to ship it to this address with me moving. I didn't know how long shipping would take. But yes,
Plus your family would appreciate it.
Yes, I am the proud owner of a Ziltoid puppet. I hope to God they haven't given it to my dog Bailey. But if they have, heads will roll. But yes, probably this weekend I will be, my Mama Kaplan's coming up to help me move. So I will be in possession of my Ziltoid puppet, and that will undoubtedly be my horns up for next week.
I love how your mom's coming up to bring you your doll.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, hold on. I was going to follow up by saying, Did you have to import this? Was this like 15 pounds? Am I looking at the same thing you were? Is my credit card out appropriately?
Facebook deal where it was like $20, like 20.
Yeah, it ended up there was a like a 24 or not a 24 hours, like a 2-week Facebook deal where you could get it for $20, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that is $20 I do not mind spending.
Well, it's still there. It's just from England now, and it's 15 pounds.
Ooh, that's brutal.
So it's
about
$20 basically still.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm leaning towards the Ziltoid coffee mug because, after all, I am a tall latte.
Yes, there you go.
Shut
up,
I might
Herman.
Just have to do both.
Pipe down, Herman.
I would blow you up with my hatred of musicals and possibly Horns Up. Just kidding.
You will blow us up with your hatred of musicals with your horns up.
Well, when you're right.
Well,
One hand, you're making the horns. The other button, pressing that button, destroying Earth.
Does
destroying
Herman push the
us.
button? How does Herman blow it up? I don't understand that part yet.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. He's a
kinda-
big furry thing that humans find cute, so I have trouble seeing him blowing up a planet. But
He's about the size
I
of-
wouldn't mind a song of him just explaining how he blows up a planet. I feel like
Right.
Devin could make that.
I mean, hey, Devin's writing songs about process now, so we could see this.
He's basically reading tech manuals and writing songs about it.
So that is
Moving on.
That is Z2. Let's move into our second insanely high profile release of the week. We're going to talk At the Gates. The Gothenburg melodic death metal legends. They're back. It's their first album in 19 years, and it is called At War with Reality. What'd you guys think of this one?
It's interesting because I tried not to compare it to like the Carcass comeback album because it's apples and oranges, but it's the same circumstance basically of this melodic death metal, thrash metal icons taking a long break, coming back to do Death Fest and releasing a comeback album. And so the situation is very much the same, except with the Carcass one, that energy felt so renewed.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, though a solid album, felt like, these are old guys who kind of hit past their prime. It felt kind of like a Haunted album from the Haunted.
Well, it doesn't. It certainly doesn't help that a couple of the guys from At the Gates are now in the Haunted.
Yeah, that's true. It just it was a solid album, and if this had come out after Terminal Spirit Disease, it would have fit the progression.
Right. For me, this was different. I looked at this differently than a lot of people have because I really got into At the Gates kind of late in the game. I had really explored melodic death pretty fully, except for them, by the time I got to Slaughter of the Soul and stuff like that. And obviously I love this stuff, but I wasn't clamoring for it the way a lot of people have been, just because I'm still relatively new to them. And so listening to At War with Reality, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's a very competent album. It's an enjoyable album at times, but it doesn't strike me as particularly groundbreaking. The melodic death metal scene, I mean, since they came and went before, has just ballooned, and it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't do that much to stick out from the pack. It's better than Siren Charms, but it just feels like it feels like standard issue melodic death metal at this point. Good melodic death metal, but standard issue melodic death.
There were some riffs that felt like they kind of took the formula of what they're like, At the Gates, this formula of melody plus darkness with a little bit of double bass equals this. And it seems like some songs they took that literally. They're like, here's a melodic line, evil note.
Yeah.
And there were some riffs that literally felt like they came out of Slaughter of the Soul. There's one riff that felt like it came out of the pre-chorus of Slaughter of the Soul, and then they just added an extra note to it to be like, nope, not that same riff.
Gotcha.
Lols. No, I was gonna say I heard the title track first, At War with Reality, after 4 days after it actually came out. I remember Dan saying he wasn't all that high on it, and I was like, yeah, do At the Gates, without having listened to it at all. And not being, when I did listen to it, I wasn't that thrilled about it. It just sounded,
Sounded like
fine.
At the Gates.
Yeah, it sounded fine. I will say the album as a whole was more enjoyable than I thought it would be based on that one track. I just feel like, I just thought they've kind of lost a step. I mean, Lindbergh sounds, no offense, kind of shitty.
Well, he sounds like he's more howl growling now than he did before. It was definitely like more of a straight melodic death growl.
Well, it sounds freaking painful now. It doesn't sound comfortable in any way, shape, or form. It just seems like he's really, really putting in a lot of effort, which, you know.
And it's painful to me after a while.
It's like Lauren said, it's a trucker hat.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Those darn trucker hats. It's ruining it for me. Stop it.
Yeah. For me, it was interesting. Like I think I perhaps because so much of it did sound like standard issue at the gates. For me, the cooler moments on this thing were the ones where they explored different tempos and it moved beyond the 2 to 3 minute kick in the ass, boom. I think of like Heroes and Tombs. I think of Order from Chaos, stuff like that. The Night Eternal, like the denouement on that song was just like the closing few minutes was just fantastic, like really eerie. So it definitely did have its moments, but I don't know. And I know, Kevin, I know you said you didn't want to make this comparison, but I am going to. I enjoy it, but it doesn't feel like the event it's supposed to be. The way Surgical Steel felt like. It's a fine, respectable effort, but it doesn't blow me away
and
the
it's
way.
Also because at the gates, don't seem like they, at least at this point, have the same relevance of a comeback that Carcass did. Granted, it was huge in my mind when they came back, but
yeah. Well, no, mine too. Obviously, the same trend, the whole MDF thing and all that crap. But what can you really do? Unfortunately for them, they basically followed up what Carcass did with Carcass's set at MDF, with their tours, with Surgical Steel, which is amazing. At the gates, tried to pull the same thing off, and unfortunately, that's really, really difficult. Yeah, to the point where it's impossible. So
it's like
I'm not that surprised.
It's like Michael Jordan and anyone who comes after Michael Jordan. It's
right. Yeah, it's
Michael Jordan of extreme metal comebacks.
Right. I mean, what are you actually gonna do? I mean, it's tough because if that Carcass album never happened, Surgical Steel never came out, they never went on tour, they never played those festivals, I'd probably like this album a lot more. And the hype, and by the way, the hype for it would be a lot less, so probably more appreciated. So.
I don't know that the hype would be any less, but I see what you're saying.
The optimism for it, like that kind of thing.
Right. The sense that it's been done and it's been done well just last year. I gotcha.
Right. Exactly. The example's right there for us. So that's
So anyway, I mean, I guess to sum up, I did like At War with Reality. I didn't love it. It's not going to be in my my top 10 or my year-end list, but it was solid comeback.
Yeah, I agree.
So, well, anyway, I know we are just touching the tip of the new release surface here. We've also seen new stuff this week from
touching the tip.
Yep, just the tip. We've also got new stuff coming out this week from Obituary, from Beyond Creation. Yeah. There's a remaster of Kiss's Love Gun album out this week. On the non-metal side, Run the Jewels 2 is kicking my absolute ass in. So this was a big week. Weird. This feels like Oscar week. It feels like Oscar month. Like when the studios save their like award ready movies for a certain period at the end of the year to drum up attention. This week feels like that. I mean, a lot of big albums out this week. We will hopefully get to some of them at a later time, but I think for now, I mean, it was knowing us. Focusing on Z2 and At War with Reality was the only way we could go here. So
agreed.
But anyway, Kevin, Lauren, I know you guys both have to go. Want to thank you very much again for stopping by. It's always good to have some guests on the pod.
Of course, I enjoy being on, and Lauren, I assume, with her nonchalantness, I'll enjoy being on as well.
Yes, I did.
Hooray! Well,
back to where I have no purpose.
She's going back to
well, you'll always have purpose for us, Lauren. So
they said you have no purpose ever. They just came and actually said positive things, but you can't tell because I have the headphones.
She'll only hear it on the actual airing of this podcast later.
Yeah,
Kevin.
There you go.
Dick.
Kevin Davis, Lauren Wolfson, thank you again, and we will see you another time.
Definitely.
All right. Peace out, homie.
Bye.
All right. So now it's back to just
Well,
just us two. We are still coming up on almost an hour because God forbid we ever
damn it.
get below an hour on this thing.
One news article that only one person talks about, and 2 albums that 3 people talk about, and we're already longer than we usually are.
Yeah.
God damn it.
We're getting there. But yeah, it's always fun. Always fun getting our sometimes co-host on, and actually went off without a hitch this time. I was pleasantly surprised.
Almost didn't, but then it did. There were almost hitches for days.
Yeah. Well, now that we're done with our albums, let's move into Horns Up and Horns Down. Obviously, you guys know what this is all about. Corey, start with Horns Up. What is making you happy this week? What's been on the good side?
Yeah, so in my run of crazy awesome weekends that have been the last, well, frankly, since I got back from Europe for the most part, and will continue beyond Halloween, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This past weekend was the infamous yet awesome New Hampshire Brew Fest at Red Hook Brewery, which is, just a mile or so, a couple miles down the road. This is always a fun time. I've gone the last few years. It's, there's dozens of breweries there. They all have 4 or 5 different samples. It's unlimited beer. You pay like $30 to get in. Sample whatever the hell you want. It's like 4 hours long. The local radio stations are there. There's live music. There's food. There's, news, newspapers. It's just a really, really big production. And it's always an amazing time that usually ends up at a point of blackout before 7 p.m. This year, when I was in Europe, when I was in Germany, one of the things I purchased, just because I figured Halloween costume, and also just for lifical reasons, there's that word again.
Yep. Our favorite.
Right? I got a pair of lederhosen. The traditional Bavarian garb, the leather, either knee length or capri length suspender pant things. Bought a pair of those, wore them with my roommate who also has a pair because he went to Germany for Oktoberfest a couple of years back. So we wore that, and god damn it, I've never gotten so much attention in such a small space in my entire life. Every single person, there were breweries giving us full pints of beer just because we wore our lederhosen. Like,
nice.
We walked up to one New Hampshire brewery, and the guy's like, "Lederhosen, fuck yeah, here's a big beer," and he gave us like big mug of beer. We were on the radio. Some chick interviewed us from WHEB, which is really cool. Numerous newspapers took our picture. Obviously, everybody there wanted a picture with us. All these like drunk people, like, "Oh, we want a picture with you." I'm just like, okay, and we were just hammered, and it was fun. And the cool thing was, there was one brewery. Cool thing, I say, I'm going to use that term slightly and take it back in about 3 seconds. But there was one brewery in Lincoln, New Hampshire called Woodstock Inn. We walked up, they were all jacked up about the lederhosen. They actually gave us like a mug from their brewery, a mug, like here, you guys are awesome, have this freaking souvenir, and got these big mugs. We're like, yeah, awesome. We carry them around all day. They make it. They survive the brew fest, and usually we get something like that, and I drop it in about 3 seconds because I'm hammered. We keep it, and brew fest starts to wind down. We decide to leave and walk to the nearest pub, which is always a good choice after brew fest. We do. And we're drinking there. Yeah, we're drinking there, and we go to leave. We get home, now borderline blackout. We realize, fuck, those glasses we carried around for 5 hours, yeah, we left them at the bar.
Fail.
It was just like, yeah, it really was a bad situation. But, then we got home. We ordered some food. We invited some strangers off the street over to our house to drink, which they did, and they paid us. They paid us wholeheartedly.
All right, alrighty.
Well, they were like in town visiting from like other colleges, and they were just like on the streets asking us stupid questions about what to do or whatever. And we said, well, we're hammered and we're going home to drink more. You're welcome to party with us. So they came over. They left for the UNH hockey game. We went downtown for more drinks. Still in our lederhosen, by the way. Didn't get any weird looks at all because now we're not Brewfest. We're just in public. And we come back to the house. And it's like 12 o'clock. We're watching games and shit like that. And at 12:30, guess who shows up? Those same people we invited over to party with like 4 hours ago. Next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and I'm waking up on the floor, my floor, not like my bedroom floor, like a living space floor. And Sunday was the worst day of my life, which I'll get into as my horns down. But that was my wonderful and exciting Saturday. What do you got?
I spent about 5 hours last night, maybe watching the return of the NBA. My
Nice.
horns up is professional basketball being back among us. It's a wonderful thing. We had quite a show yesterday, at least in the early part of the night. We got to watch Anthony Davis go absolutely apeshit for the Pelicans. I think he had 26 points, like I don't know how many boards. He was inches away from a triple-double in the first game of the season. No big deal. We got to watch a back and forth San Antonio Spurs and Dallas Mavericks game, which was fantastic. And then we got to watch a completely different kind of entertainment when the Houston Rockets took on Kobe and his band of clowns masquerading as the Los Angeles Lakers. That was really bad. I was looking at the stats today. I think the team shot 35% from the field. It was just all kinds of bad. But basketball is back. When we hang up the call right now, I'm about to watch Bulls and Knicks are on, and the Bulls are up like 20, I think. They're absolutely doing work, even without Jimmy Butler. But yeah, no, NBA basketball. I mean, now for y'all that know me, you know, we talk about soccer quite a bit, but the NBA is probably right there behind it as my number 2 sport. Really, the second of only 2 sports that I even care about anymore. So to have it back, I'm excited. I don't have League Pass, but I'm gonna make pretty heavy use of First Row Sports and other similar ilk. Things of a similar ilk.
First Row is the tit. It
Yeah.
saves me every week on morning when I need to watch my Bayern Munich play.
Yeah.
And I gotta mention something real quick. Did you hear about the fan that attacked Frank Ribéry in the game today?
I did not.
So it was a DFB Pokal, and for those unaware, like every country has their own domestic cup between all leagues. This is the DFB Pokal is that in Germany. So Bayern was playing Hamburg in one of the earlier legs or whatever. They won 3-1, but in stoppage time, a fan ran onto the pitch and started hitting Frank Ribéry with a scarf.
What the hell?
It's like, what? I mean, first of all, you're an idiot.
Jeez. Yes.
Second of all, I hope you got tased. Third of all, a scarf. I mean, come on, guy. But yeah, that happened. I just had to throw that out there because First Row Sports came up.
Yeah.
But yeah, winter sports. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. This is my favorite time of year for sports. It is. Baseball playoffs, starting to wind down. NFL, college football, college basketball is coming soon. I'm not, the biggest NBA fan like you are, but it's a sport. NHL is going full swing.
Basketball's a sport.
Barely. I'm kidding.
Go Packers.
Right. Whoops. Wrong. But there's just a lot going on, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously soccer season, football season, depending on how you look at it, is going full swing for us as well. And by the way, our Syracuse Orange soccer team, very, very good right now.
Yeah. They're what? They've been top 5 in the rankings for a little while now.
Consistently top 5 all year. They got as high as 2. I think they recently drew a match, so they're down to 4 or something like that. But very good. Very, very. I'm pretty happy to see it. Actually, I'm pretty psyched.
Good for them. That's great.
Yeah. So
They were pretty terrible when we were there. So
yeah,
it's good to see him on the winning swing for a change.
Right. Exactly.
But
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my horns up. NBA being back. Man, I'm looking at these stats right now. Pau Gasol, his first game as a Bull, he's got 17 and 8. That is fantastic. Sorry. Back to actual matters. Horns down. Horns down. What is on the opposite side? What's been pissing you off this week? Aside from, well, I guess not aside from your Sunday of death.
Well, that's pretty much it, though. It's been a good run of form the past couple days, past week or so, except for Sunday. Sunday was bad. Sunday was very, 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 very bad. Like I said, woke up on the floor at 5 a.m., got to my room, slept for like 2 hours because still hammered. Eventually walked downtown with my roommate, who was in equally as bad a shape, to get breakfast. Got to the place to get our takeout. Could barely stand at the counter to wait for it, so we had to, sit on the floor. Ate just terrible. Didn't feel right. Nobody moved. None of us. The house was just a disaster for about 12 hours. Paul Bear Toombs that Viscar was that night, and that fucking wasn't going to happen, which, I only feel so bad about because, Vet and Viscar is kind of from New Hampshire, and I've seen them like enough times. So no huge loss there, and also the show wouldn't have started till 9:30, 10, which means I wouldn't have gotten home till like 4 a.m. anyway.
Oh yeah, that would have been brutal.
Yeah, going into a Monday, just wouldn't have been the right choice either way. These fucking weeknight shows, man, they're killing me. But just the after effects of another crazy day. It didn't go well. That's all. It didn't go well. Yeah. But I had a nice little bull moose run in there, which is kind of cool.
There you go.
Yep.
Bull moose is like a spoonful of sugar. It just helps the medicine go down.
Yeah, I got Winterfilth, Morn, and some old school Mastodon and a few other things too. But
very cool.
It was good. It was a good day.
Good run. Good haul. My horns down, as you may recall, was my horns up last week, maybe the week before. It involves me moving. Specifically the process of it. Now the excitement of having found a new place has died down, and the process is getting on my tits right now. My room, I mean, you can see this, the listeners can't, but my room is empty. My room is completely empty right now. Aside from like a couple of little things. Everything, my whole life is in boxes. Moving on Saturday. I just booked my movers. The cheapest option I could have here, the cheapest estimate I got from anyone, and I looked at like 6 or 7 different moving companies, was $400. So yeah, there I'm out $400 plus a tip, so that'll run me even more. It's going to be such a process. And when I actually get there on Saturday, I'm going to be so relieved. And really, I can't complain because I'm going to see Diarrhea Planet on Friday again. Yes, again for Halloween. Third time this year, second time in 3 weeks. So yeah, all things considered, I'm not going to bitch too much, but I'm just going to be so glad when all this is over and I can start like getting my shit back to normal.
Right. There are few better feelings in the world than right when a new place is finally set up and finalized for the first time. It's pretty much the best thing ever. Just because there is so much buildup and it's such a pain in the ass. I mean, I think it's a pain in the ass, and where I am, it's relatively easy to get from one place to another as far as moving goes. Yeah. It's not New York City or Boston or any major metropolitan area. I mean, it's a nice little quaint small city, but you can fucking throw things in a van and drive 4 blocks and you're good.
Right. Right.
Different game. So there's nothing. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. So
definitely.
At least it's wrapping up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, 72 hours from now I'll be set one way or the other. So, yeah, that's my horns down. I'm not gonna complain too much, but it has been bugging me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, that will wrap us up. What are we at on time right now? Oh, we are at an hour. Of course we are.
Well, we'll edit some stuff out that the world doesn't need to hear.
Correct.
But
correct.
Still, we'll be at probably about an hour.
Yeah.
Go figure.
We can't stop it. We can't stop it. It's there's nothing we can do. So yeah, reminder for you guys, subscribe to us on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podbean, you name it. We are on all of the podcast outlets. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We are facebook.com/hornsuppodcast, Twitter @hornsuppodcast, YouTube. I don't know, just search for the Horns Up Podcast and we'll come up. I think we're listed as Horns Up Metal Show on YouTube.
Probably.
But yeah, thank you guys again for stopping by. This has been episode 27. I had a good time with this. Did you have a good time with this?
It's been a good time. It's been fun.
It has. And we thank you all for listening. Check back next week for more Horns Up stuff. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.